Shalom, everyone, and good evening from Connect here in Galilee. I'm Amir and this is a super important and special Mideast update on Damascus has fallen. We'll talk about all that you've been hearing in the news in regards to Syria, the rebels, Damascus, Israel, and everything that you need to know. We'll try to sort out things for you and explain who is who, what is what, and what is next to come. But we will start only after we will pray. Father, we thank you so much that you are in full control. Even in the technical aspect of this broadcast, we ask that you will preside and help. And we also, Father, ask that you will bring forth clarity and understanding in the times and the seasons in which we live, also understanding what is going on in the Middle East, not to bring despair and anger and fear and confusion, but actually the opposite, to bring comfort, to bring understanding and wisdom to people. We thank you, we bless you, and we ask now that you will bless this broadcast and use it for your glory. In Yeshua's name, amen. So again, shalom everyone, and good evening from Connect. It's good to be back in Israel. It's no longer a war zone within the country. We do have fights in Gaza, fights also in southern Lebanon, but now we have a new reality. In the past 48 hours, Israel has been destroying the Syrian military capabilities. We just declared 80% of all the Syrian military capabilities and equipment of the Syrian army are destroyed in the most amazing air campaign in the history of the Israeli Air Force. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. But in order to understand what's going on, I think it's only inevitable to try and go back to understand the importance of Syria, the importance of Damascus, because this is not something new. It's one of the oldest cities in the world. In fact, the first time we hear about Damascus is the servant of Abraham, Eliezer, the man of Damascus, who was attending Abraham's household and is the one that Abraham asked to go and find a wife for his son Isaac. And if indeed he found Rebekah. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, Eliezer, the man of Damascus, from Damascus, that's the first time we hear about it. Damasek Eliezer in Hebrew. Now, we do hear about the city that was flourishing in the heart of the Fertile Crescent, the crescent in between the rivers Euphrates and Tigris, all the way up north and down towards the Lebanon, and also, of course, the Jordan River to the Nile. It creates a whole area in a shape of a crescent, and of course Damascus is part of that Fertile Crescent, a flourishing city sitting on a major crossroad, the Via Maris that the Romans built along the coast, but also the King's Highway from much earlier time. And ladies and gentlemen, the city was important throughout the kings of Israel. The city was important later on in the Persian era, in the Hellenistic era, in the Roman era. Pompey took over the city in the 1st century BC. And this is the city to which Paul was on his way in order to continue his persecution against those who believed in Yeshua, the Messiah, among the Jews. And of course, on the road to Damascus, he had that amazing experience, that conversion, that when his eyes were open to understand who the Messiah of Israel really is, it was on the way to Damascus. Of course, Damascus continued to be an important city, a big city, ancient, very beautiful, by the way, throughout also the Byzantine era when the Romans adopted Christianity. And then, of course, when Islam was born, right after Muhammad's death, there was already empires and dynasties of Muslim rulings. And one of the oldest one was the Umayyad one that turned Damascus into its capital. And it goes back to the late 600s, early 700s AD. And there is a grand mosque in Damascus from that time period, which, by the way, we saw in the news just a couple days ago. So it continues to flourish also throughout that time, and also the Crusaders also took over parts of Syria and had their own regimes there. And then, of course, when the Ottoman Empire took control of the entire area, of course, it was under what today called Turkish, but then the Ottomans, and they ruled until the early 1900s. And at the towards the very end of World War I, when it was evident that the Ottoman Empire is falling apart, we had two diplomats, one from the UK and one from France, Mr. Sykes and Monsieur Picot, that took the map and carved the remains of the Ottoman Empire and literally divided the Levant, the area of the Middle East, between England and France, and Syria and Lebanon were to be under French mandate. Now, before the French mandate, we first know that everything that the Sykes-Picot Agreement was talking about was affirmed and confirmed in the San Remo Conference in 1920. And of course, by then, there was already, for 1 year, a kingdom of Syria with a king there. Didn't last for too long. 1923, this is when the mandate was introduced. I mean, if you want to see what it looked like, the book where it says mandate of the French mandate over Syria, and there you go, this is it. And of course, 1923, ladies and gentlemen. It wasn't until 1944, January of 44, which is at the end of 43, 20 years later, that Syria received independence. And then, of course, a few years later, Syria began its fights against Israel. Israel was born in 1948, and on the War of Independence, the Syrians were already fighting against us. Now, if that's not enough, Syria wanted to be part of the Arab world, and there was an attempt in 1954 to cause unification of Syria and Egypt. It didn't last for too long. In 1963, the Ba'ath movement, the resurrection movement, basically took over. It's a secular Arab party that took over the regime in Syria, and it's in 1970 that Hafez al-Assad became president. In between, by the way, Syria suffered a great blow in 1967 when Israel preemptively struck before they will strike us, and we took over the Golan Heights from Syria at that time. Golan Heights were Jewish. The Golan Heights were part of the tribes of Israel, the half of Manasseh. The Golan Heights has numerous archaeological remains of synagogues and Jewish villages and towns. And unfortunately, the only thing the Golan Heights was used by the Syrians throughout those first 20 years of Israel's existence was to attack Israel from there. So in 1967, we took it. And of course, in President Trump's first term, he acknowledged it as an Israeli territory already. But let me now bring you to 1970, when Hafez al-Assad forcefully took over. He was the defense minister. There was an attempt to take over, and he took over. And this is who Hafez al-Assad is. Take a look at him. That's the father of Bashar al-Assad. Hafez al-Assad was a ruthless leader of Syria. He belongs to a small minority of Shiites called Alawites. They reside mostly on the coast in Latakia area. But he took over, and basically the minority became the ruling party over the majority of Sunnis, Arabs. Of course, there are Kurds also, there's Druze also, there's Bedouin also, but the majority were Sunni Muslims, and now it is Shiite Muslims that are controlling them. Assad was ruthless, and in 1982, there was an attempt to uprise, which he crushed in the city of Hama, where there were 40,000 people that he killed of his own people by destroying buildings upon the people that were inside and rolling tanks right over them, almost 40,000 people. Now you can maybe understand the depth of hatred that the people of Syria has towards their regime, which they hold as illegitimate. They are ruthless, they are very, very, very cruel, and they're not even legitimate. There's this one-party thing, a one-string instrument. And that, of course, is 1982. We move on to the year after the Gulf War, and there were some negotiations with the Syrians. The Syrians didn't want to talk about anything before Israel pulled out of the Golan Heights. Thankfully, we didn't. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have, of course, in the year 2000, Assad, the father, died. His son, Bashar al-Assad, an eye doctor, took over. And if you think that the father was cruel, the son could teach a thing or two to his father, because Bashar al-Assad, don't be fooled by his innocent looks. He massacred his own people. Look, take a look at what they do. That's what they did to anyone that came against him. Look, mass graveyard. They would throw people and then shoot them and kill them, one after another. This is one example. And if it's not enough, we have a case in Kamishli in the Kurdish area in the north, where they massacred people after a football match ended up not well there. And if that's not enough, even throughout the actual civil war in the year 2013, you can Google Eastern Ghouta, Ghouta, Eastern Ghouta. There was a chemical attack that Assad performed against his own people, where he dropped barrels of chemical weapon and killed nearly 1,400 men, women, and children on the spot. He massacred his own people over and over again and again. And if that's not enough, when the actual Syrian revolt started, then he allowed Russians and he allowed the Iranians and the Hezbollah to also assist him in killing his own people. Now, let me now expound a little bit about the actual civil war that is going on since 2011. But before that, let me say this. It was President Obama that in 2010 came to the Middle East, came to Egypt actually, and spoke at the Islamic University there about the need for democracy throughout the Arab world. And of course, that was known as what everybody call the Arab Spring, that turned into a Muslim Islamic winter. But if I may say, folks, this was the beginning. And then there was a small uprising in the city of Daraa in southern Syria. And during that time, there was a shooting. While they were burying their people, the Assad regime started massacring everyone, and that started it all. And just so you know, I'm going to show you shortly a video that will take you from 2011 all the way until today, and take a look at what happened during that time. So let's put that video, and I'll talk throughout the video to explain to you what's going on. So this is 2011. Syria was under Bashar al-Assad 100%. Then came the southern part incident in Daraa that started the whole thing. And then it spread out towards Damascus, and up north towards Homs, and towards Latakia, and on the east of the Euphrates River, and then in the south as well along the Jordanian border. And more angry Syrians started revolting against the regime, as the green is the Sunni and the yellow is the Kurds. And then, of course, ISIS took advantage and started entering as cancer and started taking more land in the desert, and more land. And more land. And before you know it, folks, ISIS is now taking over a huge chunk, that's the black, huge chunk of the Syrian territory. Take a look at it. More and more and more and more. ISIS is advancing towards Damascus on this side, and in Iraq it took the city of Mosul as well. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, the Kurds realized we must do something where we are, and they started closing on ISIS from the north and from the east, and you see the yellow is growing and growing and growing. Assad's territory is shrinking, all the red, and Assad cried for help, and Russia came to help him. Iran came to help him. Hezbollah came to help him. Turkey also tried to help against ISIS, of course, and eventually President Trump was elected for the first time in November of 2016. And take a look at what happened in 2017 to ISIS. Take a look. He immediately ordered his generals to fight ISIS, and ISIS is almost gone. In fact, it was completely gone by the end of the term of President Donald Trump in his first term. Take a look. All the black is gone. The Americans, right east of the river Euphrates, helped the Kurds, the different parties of the Kurds. They helped them to establish their own territory, controlling gas and oil field there, while Assad controlled the area west of the Euphrates River all the way. As you can see, pockets of resistance continued in the south and in the very north, where there was still area of Al-Qaeda and also militias that are assisted by the Turks in the very north. And of course, as you can clearly see, things have stabilized more or less, while Iran was literally using the territory to control and smuggle more and more and more weapons towards Hezbollah. Ladies and gentlemen, 2024, and now that's what happened in the last 10 days, 14 days. This is it. Quite amazing, isn't it? Well, you've seen 13 years of civil war within 3 minutes. But if you're wondering how many groups of rebels we have, I mean, it's very easy to lose track of all of them. So I'm going to try and explain to you just a sentence about each. First of all, we can divide them into two groups: the Sunni rebels and the Kurds. Okay, the Kurds are the largest minority without a state. You see Kurds in Turkey, in Iraq, in Iran, and of course in Syria. And they are seeking, for their own territorial area. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Sunni rebels, those that have been massacred by Assad regime. And so take a look at this map of Syria and take a look at how Iran took advantage of the situation and, smuggled from Iran through Iraq, through Syria, all the way into Lebanon, and armed Hezbollah and basically created a monster. And Hezbollah, thankfully, is almost completely gone. I mean, we just crippled it to the point that not only that it's unable to, move, and signed a very, very humiliating ceasefire agreement, but that signage of the ceasefire agreement gave the rebels in Syria the green light that this is it. Now everybody's weak. Nobody will come to help Assad. Russia is dealing with Ukraine. Iran is dealing with its own blows of its own proxies. And of course, they could see that Hezbollah is crippled as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that was a very good calculation. Now, let's take a look at what the map of Syria looked like 2 weeks ago. And let's try to analyze the different groups, okay? The main one is HTS, Hayat Tahrir el-Sham. We'll stop for a second. This is the last name of what started as Al-Qaeda, evolved into ISIS, evolved into Jabhat al-Nusra, and landed finally on the name Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the group of the liberation of al-Sham. Remember, Sham is the greater Syria, so they're not going to settle with only that one. SFA, the Syrian Free Army, veterans that defected from the Syrian army and became part of the rebels. They are trained and helped by the Turkish side in the north. If that's not enough, there's more of the Sunni rebels, and that's the SNA, the Syrian National Army, also a group that is assisted. Okay. And if that's not enough, folks, we're also having more rebels among the Syrians. And, you know, we're talking about other groups. But now we can also look at the Kurdish side of the rebels themselves. So let's look at that one. As you can clearly see, I know that some of you may have lost sight of the cameras, but as far as the Kurdish side, we have several groups. Okay, so here we are. We're talking, when it comes to the Kurdish, we have several. We have the PKK, Kurdistan Workers' Party. No, this is the leader of the Sunni rebels, by the way, Julani, whose real name is Ahmed Hussein al-Shar'a. Let me say a couple words about him, okay? It's important that you understand. This man may appear to you as moderate. He may appear to you as someone we can do business with, someone who was on television, on CNN, and they didn't even ask him any tough question at all. This guy, when he was 22 years old, left his medical school when he wanted to be a doctor. He was born in southern Syria, moved to Iraq, was recruited to Al-Qaeda, and he was under Al-Qaeda's leaders, and then part of ISIS, and then had his own organization, Jabhat al-Nusra. And it's full ISIS person that is now trying to fool the West as a moderate. You know, let me make it very clear, folks. This is the new thing. Just like Sinwar told everyone, oh, we only want work, we only need work, and that's it. And then, of course, he made the move with October 7th. So as far as Israel is concerned, this is it. Now, as far as the Kurds, PKK, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, that the Turks hold as a terrorist organization, and they fight for the rights of the Kurdish for self-determination in Turkey and in other places. They gave birth to another organization as well. But this is the SDF. This is a Kurdish group also called Syrian Democratic Forces, assisted by the United States of America. They control the eastern banks of the Euphrates River with the gas and oil fields over there. And if that's not enough, we have also YPG. It's the daughter organization or son or offshoot of the PKK, only for the affairs of the Kurds in Syria. And last but not least, if I'm not mistaken, there is one last group among the Kurds. Am I right? I am. And that is the Peshmerga, which is the military forces of basically of the Kurdish people, but it's led by Kurdish people. It's also, you know, it has Sunnis, it has Christians, and it has others as well. So as you can see, so many different groups, and I didn't even mention ISIS and Al-Qaeda in this whole thing. That's what it looked like by November 20th, November 30th, December 4th, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They started making the move, as you can see already, and it's growing and growing and growing. And by December 8th, the entire country fell when Damascus had fallen. That's what we see, folks. And what is Israel doing? We're not going to wait. Remember, Israel already annexed the Golan Heights, and during the first term of President Trump, he recognized it. Take a look at President Trump recognizing the Golan Heights as Israeli territory. And we can see even the video of him acknowledging that. Take a look at that.
The unbreakable alliance between the United States and Israel has never been stronger. You read things, you hear things. It's never been stronger. Just remember that. People talk, but it's only talk. Our relationship is powerful. At this moment, the American embassy stands proudly in Jerusalem, the capital the Jewish people have established, and they've wanted the embassy for many, many years, for many decades, and frankly, through many presidents. And we got it done. Not only did we get it done, we also got it built. at a slight cost saving, like about $1 billion cost saving. Friend, the United States will always stand by its side. I'd like to now invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to say a few words. And Bibi and I have known each other for a long time. He's another one who truly, truly loves Israel. I think I can say he also loves the United States. So before I sign the presidential proclamation recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights.
There you go. Signing recognition in Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And that's exactly what we do now. Look, right above the Golan Heights, take a look at this map. Our tanks are right now rolling in order to expand the border to the point where we can defend ourselves, because the 1974 agreement after Yom Kippur War is null and void. Now we can move further, create a better area where we can defend ourselves from shoulder missiles and other weapons that those rebels might have. Israel is not only there, also on Mount Hermon, we took over the Syrian outpost. The army has left already, and now it's within our control. We will not let jihadists look over Israel from the very top of the highest mountain in the region as well. So, as you can see, Israeli vehicles and tanks rolling into the demilitarized area and even beyond to get better positions and create another no man's land where rebels are not going to be allowed in. And this is it, folks. We cannot trust them. We cannot do business with them. And if the world wants to recognize them, and if the world wants to do business with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, fine. But we will take care of our own business. We don't trust anyone anymore. When they say A, it's B. When they say B, it's C. We learned something from October 7th, and we will not allow that to happen to us again. And by the way, in the last 48 hours, Israel has been destroying, you can jot that down, all of the Syrian airplanes, fighter jets, helicopters, radar systems, air defense systems, a stockpile of ballistic missiles. We destroy all of their research centers, all of their naval ships, all of their training centers. We have been destroying the Syrian military weapons, equipment, and facilities in order for them not to fall into the hands of the rebels. And if I may add, we also destroy manufacturing and storage facility for strategic weapons such as chemical and biological weapons that the Syrian regime used to deal with against his own people also. So folks, Israel is very busy right now in making sure that what happened in Syria is not going to affect us. Now, who are the winners here? Israel, of course. We don't have Iran anymore on our border, and we don't have Iran anymore feeding Hezbollah to become a monster once again. That's a great, great thing. Look, the entire Iranian axis of evil has crumbled. That's it. It's gone. They lost Islamic Jihad and Hamas. They lost Hezbollah. They lost Syria. And this is it. Their ring of fire that they wanted to strangle Israel with is gone. But also, I will say, the winner is Turkey, because Turkey is the one training, equipping, and assisting the rebels, and now the rebels owe Turkey a lot. So Erdogan is now having a greater influence in Syria, whereas Russia lost, Iran lost, Hezbollah lost, and all the axis of evil has indeed lost. This is an amazing thing that is going on here. And if you ask me, where are we biblically? Of course, Damascus is still standing, so Isaiah 17 hasn't yet been fulfilled. But listen to this, folks. Listen to this. The Bible is telling us that Damascus will become a heap of ruins and it will be uninhabitable. But the Bible does not tell us who is going to destroy it. There's two options. There's the option that Israel has to do it in order to avoid a greater catastrophe coming from there. Or there's also the option of the others that are going to do it because Syria is no longer an enemy of Israel, and they want Syria to be the enemies of Israel. So the Bible is not telling us who is destroying it. But one thing I know for sure, Iran is angry. Russia is angry. And at this point, as far as Erdogan is concerned, his appetite is much greater than just Syria. He has been saying that he wants to settle the score with Israel. He has no problem invading into Israel as well, and he's in much greater position to do that even right now. So folks, we're definitely seeing amazing things happening in the Middle East. And the fall of Damascus, not the destruction, but the fall of Damascus can also evolve into a greater civil war. Look at what they do. They topple all of their old regime's statues. And by the way, I can also tell you this, folks, as we speak right now, and you can only see it on my Telegram channel. Put the camera on me, folks, and I want you to know, I am not going to show you here some horrific videos that I just received, but it's on Telegram, and this is the QR code to join it. As we speak right now, hundreds of people are being executed by the rebels. They're being hanged in the city squares. They're being shot at. They're being massacred by the hundreds as we speak right now. These rebels are ruthless. They're not moderate. That's Al-Qaeda. That's ISIS. You know exactly what they do. So I want you to, I want you to understand that that's what Israel is now having to deal with. Yeah, Iran is no longer there. Yeah, maybe Hezbollah is crushed. Yeah, maybe the Russians are not really as strong as they used to be in Syria. But at the same time, we have something like Afghanistan-style regime right next to us. You know, there's a video today that is circulating of a Syrian woman that was stopped in a roadblock by the rebels, and they told her, you're no longer allowed as a woman to travel all by yourself just like that. You need to stay home. I mean, Syria is going to change, and it may not be for the liking of the Syrians. By the way, over 500,000 Syrians died in the last civil war. We're talking about 14 million people that were displaced, of which 7 million were actually gone into Syria, into Turkey and other places in Europe. And one of the reasons Turkey wanted the rebels to win is so all the Syrian refugees in Turkey will go back into Syria. And that's it. So now in a very unusual manner, we're going to move to Q&A. Normally, Middle East Update is not with questions and answers. So let's look at this short video and move to the Q&A. Yes. All right. So we got some questions. I have them on my phone. They keep feeding more and more that we see online that you wrote. The first one is, can you address the topic of whether or not the situation is worse for Christians there now? I can tell you, folks, that the Christians are going to suffer. I don't see a single place in the Middle East where ISIS or Al-Qaeda were and Christians had it good. Now, they may try to appear as civilized and right now and moderate, but they're not. They're not. And unfortunately, I don't have good news for the Christians in Syria. We need to pray for them, folks. Peter asked, do you think it is likely that IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, will intensify their efforts in Judea, Samaria, and Jordan, given the developments in Syria? I do. I think that they've tried and they will continue to try. We also fear that Iran will destabilize Jordan and try to cause the people in Jordan to topple the monarch there. So there's a lot of things that we think that Iran is going to do. Maybe even Iran is going to run for the nuclear bomb right now because it's left without any other option. Then we see another one. People are saying, could this be the start of Psalm 83 war? No, Psalm 83 war is a war that already took place in 1948. This has nothing to do with that. Psalm 83 is a war that involved with Jordan and Egypt, and these are both countries that have peace with Israel. Psalm 83 is when Israel was born and the name was changed. All the countries around us invaded in order for the name of Israel to be remembered no more. Another question that people are asking is, Jeff is asking, is there any update on the release of the hostages from Gaza? Well, the threat of President Trump to destroy Hamas if they're not releasing it until January 20th is probably doing its job. And we already have a delegation of people in Egypt to deal with them, and maybe we'll have good news very shortly. Anne is asking, will the Kurds be able to get their own country in Syria? This is what Israel wants. Israel is not trusting the jihadists. We trust the Druze and the Kurds only. And so as far as Israel is concerned, we're willing to collaborate and assist the Kurds on the east and the Druze on the south next to our border. And if we can, we would prefer the Druze to be on our border, so at least we can trust those on the other side of the fence. Will you speak to which factions are looking for the Mahdi? The Mahdi, the Imam, it's mostly a Shiite Muslim idea, and of course, most of Syria is Sunni, and so this is, I'm not sure this is the case here. Bruce is asking, are we seeing the preparation of Israel's unwalled villages? Yes. Bruce, you need to understand that Israel is now taking care of business that we should have taken care of a long time ago. We're destroying our enemies one after the other so we can get to the point where we will be strong and safe, and we will not need those walled villages. How do the people know who is who in Syria? In example, how do the rebels, where is it? Who is who in Syria, for example? How do the rebels know who the Kurds or Christians? And look, we may not know, but they live there. They know each other. So maybe when you as a foreigner go there, you may not be able to pay attention or to distinguish, but the people that live there, they all know who is who. What do you think will happen once Trump takes office regarding Syria? I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that Syria will be put on notice as far as Israel is concerned. They will basically have to live in peace with Israel and accept all the new reality of us having new defense lines. And I truly hope that Trump will make it to January 20th and also, you know, show his decisive power in bringing end to wars and not starting new ones. There is another question here, and it's, what do you think, will the Damascus uninhabitable prophecy happen before or after the rapture? You see, the rapture can happen even in a few seconds. So I wouldn't say that there has to be an event that will happen before in order for the rapture to take place. But I will tell you that I believe that the destruction of Damascus will be the catalyst for the Ezekiel war. And the Ezekiel war will end up eventually with the rise of the Antichrist to introduce the pseudo-peace. And for that to happen, we cannot be here anymore. So that's the only stipulation in regards to that. We see Hoggies asking, do you think Israel will now destroy Iran's nuclear capability? Absolutely. This is the right time. Iran is gone from Syria. Hezbollah is defeated. Hamas is defeated. If you want to make sure that these organizations will die, you have to kill the head of the snake. You have to hit and hit hard. And by the way, now it's the time, because I believe the Ayatollahs are mulling right now about getting a bomb because they see that there is no other way to ensure our survival. And so absolutely, I believe that that's probably the best and the next thing to do. Why do you believe the Syrian regime crumbled so quickly, given how protected the civil war was, protracted it was years ago? It literally, years ago, the situation was not like that. October 7th changed everything. October 7th caused Israel to destroy the Iranian proxies. The war in Ukraine is causing Russia to be busy. And as you can see, Hezbollah cannot help anymore. Iran cannot help anymore. Russia is too busy. That was the right time. And when the rebels saw that Hezbollah is so defeated that he's signing such a humiliating ceasefire agreement, they knew this is the right time. So that's why it was the right moment with convergence of events. We have Shelley asking, what is a possible scenario for the complete destruction of Damascus? In your opinion, what or might be involved? Okay, for a complete destruction of a city and to make it uninhabitable, it has to be unconventional weapon. I mean, I'll let you sail with your imagination, but a regular weapon is not just destroying a huge city like Damascus and make it uninhabitable. It has to be something way more powerful than that. Draw your own conclusions if you want. And then, of course, we see another one. Charla is asking, are Kurds Jewish or par-Jew? No, Kurds are not Jewish, but there were Jewish people from the area of Kurdistan, but there could be Kurdish Jews, but not all Kurds are Jews. Okay, just like there were, Jewish people among Europeans, among countries in Arab area, and in Yemen there were Jews as well, but not all Yemenites are Jewish. So it is with the Kurds themselves. Why did you say if Trump will make it? Well, I'm praying that he will make it. I just don't trust the Democrats, and there were several attempts already to take him down, and I'm just praying that he will make it. That's all. It's an honest, genuine hope to see that he will get there. But I don't trust anymore anybody around him when it comes to his security, simply because we already saw what happened before. So that's the only reason I'm saying that. I don't know anything. I hope nothing is going to happen. And we really want to see him in office very, very soon. Where does it say in the Bible that the rapture is imminent? Well, if Paul, 2,000 years ago, was sure that it's going to happen in his lifetime, it is imminent. Show me one place where in the Bible it says that something has to happen for the rapture to take place. Nothing. Even in the flagship chapter of 1 Thessalonians 4, it doesn't even talk about the tribulation or, or any other events that is related to it. Why? Because it can happen at any given moment. It could have happened 2,000 years ago. He was looking forward to it, and it can happen. And we need to be eagerly waiting for that to happen, just as he was then. Also, why are the rebels allowing Israel to destroy all the military equipment? The rebels have no say. We don't ask them. And quite frankly, Israel is doing the job that all the countries around the world want us to do, is to make sure that all of these capabilities will not fall into the hands of the jihadists. So we don't ask the rebels, and we protect ourselves. Very easy. Okay, there is another one, and it says this. Aaron is asking, could this be the beginning of Ezekiel 38 and 39? No. Ezekiel 38 and 39 is a war where Russia is leading an assault together with Turkey and Iran on Israel. Right now, I don't think Russia can do it. If Russia couldn't even help Assad not falling, I'm not sure they're in a position of doing that right now. I think, it can happen, in a few months, if things will change rapidly. But I don't see that happening at the moment right now. I think that it can happen, though, later on. Rebecca is asking, is it safe to assume Netanyahu knew of the coming Syria rebels and the takeover, which is why he agreed to the Lebanon ceasefire? I'm not sure about it. I think Netanyahu warned Assad not to play with fire and allow the rearming of Hezbollah through his territory. But everybody were kind of amazed at how fast things were with the rebels, okay? So I will not tell you that we knew everything, but I will tell you that we were not surprised at the timing of it. Do you know about, Reed is asking, do you know about the Emmanuel Macron two-state solution in June? What is your prediction on that? No, I don't know what he's talking about there. Dave is asking, are Iran's air defenses as important as we're led to believe now? If so, is there anything other than politics stopping Israel from attacking their nukes? Look, in order to attack the nukes, we need America on our side. It's very simple. There are American troops and American bases in Iraq, and the last thing we want to do is cause them harm. And so right now, we don't have the regime in America. The administration in America is not in favor of us doing that. So, I mean, we need to wait 40 more days, and then we can do it. Hopefully. I mean, I would not oppose doing that tonight or tomorrow, but it's unlikely, knowing the type of administration you guys have in America right now. What is the last stronghold of enemy Islamic regime of Iran? Last stronghold of enemy Islamic regime of Iran? I'm not sure what it is, the last stronghold of enemy. Iran is still having influence in Yemen with the Houthis and in Iraq with the militias there. And they still have them, but they're not that effective in destroying Israel anymore, as you can see. But Iran is relying on its nuclear program, and that is the only reason it wants to have it, is to ensure its survival. And then what does Saudi Arabia have to do with what is going on? The Saudis are sitting quietly, waiting to see what's the end of the game is going to be. Once Trump is in office, I believe the Saudis will immediately want to hop on the normalization train, and with it also even Indonesia, because these countries, there's nothing for them to wait for. I mean, they can only benefit from peace with Israel, especially now when Israel is stronger than ever, respected more than ever in the area, feared and revered more than ever before in our region. Jay is asking, who will control Syria? That's a good question. Nobody knows. At the moment, they're trying to give the rebels a chance to form a government. But what about the Kurds? What about the Druze? What about the Bedouins? What about ISIS that will not accept anything but Islamic State? So we'll see what happens. We prefer a Kurdish state, a Druze state, a Sunni state. We prefer that over something else. CNS, what is going on in Gaza? Are more tunnels still being discovered? Where is Israel still? What Israel's trying to? There's still, we still have terrorists in Gaza. They're hiding among civilians. They're hiding among the rubbles, and they still cause some pain to the Israeli soldiers. But it's not many. I mean, not too many are left. Israel is trying to corner them all and push them all to one area, and then eventually somehow cause the Gazans to understand that nobody is going to help them. Iran is not there. Hezbollah is not there. That's it. They better hand over the remaining hostages, or they will be all destroyed. Cheryl is asking, can the IDF bombings accidentally release the biological gas? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think Israel knows where it's hidden and how to do things. Although on my Telegram channel, I did show you a video of some type of gas that has been released in the air of Damascus early this morning, and some strong smell over there as well. But we're not sure what and where and how, but We'll see. Is Turkey more frightening threat to Israel than Iran? No, because Iran created Hezbollah. Iran has an ideological obsession with Israel. Turkey is a NATO member, and Turkey may not like us, but they're easier to deal with than Iran. And the Turks are not developing nuclear weapons, and they're not. But again, remember, when it comes to the Ezekiel war, they will come against us. Make no mistake. How will Israel end up alone in the Ezekiel war? That's a good question. For that, you need an American administration that abandons Israel. And for that, you need Russia already done with Ukraine, and Iran so angry that it joins Russian and Turkish coalition. So that's why I'm not sure it's the right time right now for the Ezekiel war. But we'll see what happens. Josh is asking, could Israel knock out Iran's nuclear program by itself with U.S. air-to-air refueling, or would our bigger boxers be needed? It's always better to have a U.S. assistance with heavy bombers, because these nuclear sites are deep cut into the mountains, but if needed, will cause the damage by ourselves in means that we have. Brad and Kim are asking, do the current events give any idea as to what the hooks in the jaws might be? The hooks in the jaws are the gas and oil that Israel has. The hooks in the jaws, in the jaws are basically the fact that Israel is as a superpower now in the region, and of course, people will not like that new position, and I believe, amazing prosperity that we're going to go through right at the very end of this war. Who's funding the different groups? Well, Turkey helps them a lot. And America helps the Kurds. They have some big money backing them and helps, of course. Megan is asking, can you explain how to make sure you're saved? That's probably the best question. How to make sure you're saved? Well, the Bible is very clear about understanding two things. A, that we are sinners, that we were born sinners, that we need to acknowledge our sinful nature, and then to believe in the one who died for our sins in order for us to be forgiven and to have eternal life. It requires acknowledgement of your sinful nature, and it requires faith in the one that took the punishment upon himself and in his finished work on the cross, and in the eternal life that is actually the gift that is of everyone that puts his trust in him. That John 3:16 says, so God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that he whosoever believes in him will not perish, but will have eternal life. So this is it, folks. I want to thank you for being with us. Thank you for praying for the technical side. We did have a couple of glitches, but thankfully we made it through. We're going to continue and update you, but the best way to stay updated is by the QR code to download Telegram 24/7, videos, pictures, information, maps, so you can stay updated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being such amazing followers of the ministry. As the year draws near to the end, we thank you also for helping the ministry in so many ways, in prayers and financially also. And I would like to conclude this update with the Aaronic blessing. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance and be gracious to you and give you his peace. B'Shem Yeshua. Amen. Thank you. God bless you. please forward and share this video with as many people as you can. God bless you, and shalom from Galilee, from Israel.